Mother is the protagonist, yet father is not the hero, he is the antagonist within this narrative. They all proclaim that father is a villainous man who forcibly claimed mother, resulting in my birth. However, after giving birth to me, my mother was redeemed by the true hero, never once caring for me and viewing me as a blemish, wishing for my vanishing from this world. In contrast, my villainous father changes my diapers, feeds me formula, and takes me to school, day in and day out. He endures the psychological and corporate warfare waged by the protagonists, while tirelessly caring for me for decades. One day, I inquired, "Father, why do they all label you as the villain?" He replied, "Because their minds are unhinged. Do not dwell on such matters, it is 8 o'clock, time for your milk." Having said that, my villainous father poured me a glass of warm milk, watching intently as I consumed every drop. In truth, I loathe drinking milk, yet he insists, "Consume more meat, eggs, and milk, only then will you be able to surpass others." His educational philosophy left me astounded as I downed the fishy milk under his unwavering gaze. Alas, I am now of considerable age, yet still compelled to drink milk. Once I finished, he returned to his busy endeavors. The company could not function without him for a single day. According to the trajectory of this tale, in 3 short years, we may be forced to vacate this grand estate for a rented dwelling, leading a life of an ordinary person. A wave of worry washed over me. How could a formidable villainous father allow us to descend into a rented existence? "Father, perhaps you could entrust me to Chung On-hui? Did she not claim that if I were handed over to her, she would cease to short sell the Ming Group? Chung On-hui is my biological mother, though I have never referred to her as such. She abandoned me without a second thought, unworthy of the title of mother." 02. The villainous father, Ming Su, remained engrossed in his work at the computer, barely lifting his head. He muttered something nonsensical, advising me to drink my milk and promptly retire for the night. I retorted, "I wouldn't be in this position if it weren't for you." I was no longer the naive child I once was. I was acutely aware of their past grievances and entanglements. Presently, Chung On-hui and her pampered protagonist, Chung Feng, were acting recklessly, brazenly attacking the Ming Corporation. The villainous father closed his laptop and playfully tapped my forehead. "Ming Sui, what thoughts occupy your mind daily? Your mother has her beloved daughter. What purpose do you serve by returning? To pretend to be a false heiress? Or merely to serve as a punching bag?" I pouted. "I can't be that foolish, can I? You seem to have forgotten the pain of your past. Instead of relishing your status as a true heiress, you choose to endure hardship. When have you seen Qingzhen without being mocked? If you're so idle, take the black card and indulge in shopping or travel. If nothing else, pursue some studies or hone your martial skills. You have all day to spare." I responded with a soft "oh," silently accepting the villainous father's black card. He was right. In the eyes of the world, I could not hold a candle to Chung On-hui's genuine daughter, Qingzhen. Every appearance alongside her ended in humiliation. Subjected to the whispers of media and other affluent young ladies, I had been too weak previously, which the villainous father attributed to a lack of proper nourishment. What is she, after all? Throughout your life, your father has always provided you with the best. Why not retaliate? It's infuriating to watch. If trouble arises, I'll support you. If they all claimed I should retaliate and I didn't, it would reflect my inadequacy. 03. Misfortune seems to linger, even to the point of making one choke on water. While indulging in extravagant shopping, I spotted Chung On-hui and Qingzhen selecting garments. The duo entered, with Qingzhen clinging to Chung On-hui's arm. "Mom, there's no need for such extravagance. It's not a significant occasion." "It is indeed significant. It's my precious daughter's birthday. Naturally, she must shine as the most radiant heiress. Whatever you desire, my dear, shall be yours." Qingzhen whined. "I wonder if I could sit for a moment. My feet are sore." Chung On-hui, clearly charmed by this, replied, "In a moment, they'll show you the dresses. You can select while seated over there." It was then they noticed me. I was comfortably situated in the VIP section of the luxury store, enjoying the attentive service of the sales associate, surrounded by the luxury items I had already purchased, scattered haphazardly around me. Qingzhen turned pale at the sight. Typically, Chung On-hui and Chung Feng restricted her spending, requiring her to solicit permission for luxury purchases. How could she compare to my carefree attitude of buying at will? The sales associate appeared somewhat embarrassed as my belongings cluttered the area, leaving no room for the mother and daughter. "Ladies, please wait a moment." I was indifferent, but Qingzhen's expression was less than pleasant. She timidly tugged at Chung On-hui's sleeve. "Mom, should we perhaps choose another store? I wasn't aware my sister was here." As Chung On-hui spoke, she reached for my arm. Ming Sui, get up. I remained immovable. My father had just remarked that I should not endure hardship. Chung On-hui, visibly irritated, felt like a transparent figure to me. I ignored her completely. What's your attitude? I smiled at them. I've just spent tens of millions here today. If I don't sit here, who will? Do you see the sales associate asking me to leave? Chung Jun's face paled further. Even if Chung On-hui had brought her shopping today, she would never spend so lavishly. Her ankle was already showing signs of wear. Suddenly, she stumbled sideways. Had Chung On-hui not been close, she would have fallen. Chung On-hui's flawless visage cracked slightly. Ming Sui. Apologize to Jun. Never. If I were to apologize, it would have to wait until the next life. Have all these items delivered to the Ming family estate. If there are any new arrivals, send them directly. The air in your store is unpleasant. I dislike it. 04. Chung On-hui's expression darkened, shrouded in ambiguity.
Ming Sui.
Do not presume that your connection to Ming Su grants you immunity. Once you obediently marry, let us see how Ming Su will protect you. What? If I marry, I would no longer bear the Ming surname? What a remnant of futile thinking. I cared little for her thoughts, turning on my heel and departing with purpose. A villain ought to possess a villain's awareness and not constantly intrude upon the protagonist. Previously, my father and I had not fared well in her presence. I recalled an instance when my father had rebuked her. Chung On-hui, drop that innocent fa. Don't lead my daughter astray. She would shed a few tears, and the Ming Corporation would face Chung Feng's wrath. My father even suffered an attack upon leaving. Had fate not favored him, he might not have emerged unscathed. Chung Feng, adopted by the Chung family, was Chung On-hui's most loyal hound, a madman at that. Whenever she was displeased, I sensed Chung Feng was capable of dragging everyone down with her. Presently, what displeased Chung On-hui most was me, her blemish prior to marriage. It was rumored that after being forcefully taken by my father, she had contemplated terminating the pregnancy. However, the doctor had repeatedly warned her, if you terminate this child, your chances of conceiving in the future will be greatly diminished. Thus, Chung On-hui begrudgingly bore me, abandoning me at the Ming family doorstep upon my birth. She had no desire for me, nor to be my mother. Moreover, I bore no resemblance to her. I was the spitting image of my father. Both of us possessed strikingly handsome features, exquisitely crafted, perfectly set upon my visage. To any observer, we were unmistakably father and daughter. I grew increasingly attractive and more wicked, yet their verbal assaults held no tangible impact on my life. Because throughout much of the narrative, my villainous father remained the wealthier of the two. This was what irked Chung On-hui the most. 05. Chung On-hui did not relent in her control over me. Her possessiveness had become unbearable. Under the pretext of my age, she sought suitable marriage prospects for me, sending numerous resumes and invitations my way. The previous unsightly candidates were discarded without a second glance. However, when this particular match's resume landed before my father and me, we were taken aback. I had assumed she would present me with a frivolous wastrel. Could there be a catch? The resume belonged to Shiryu, a well-known young heir in the capital, who, after studying abroad, had returned to work in his family business. While he and T elevated the Shur family to the pinnacle of the elite, he was indeed a young man of substance and charm. At the very least, many young ladies aspired to marry him in this locale. My villainous father remarked, such an impressive resume. What trick is she playing? Is this man perhaps gay? Why not go and see? It's merely a social gathering. Consider it a diversion. We exchanged glances, both sensing the gravity of the situation. I sighed and decided to dress appropriately for the occasion. He had certainly piqued my curiosity. Deep down, I doubted Chung On-hui would act out of benevolence. If he were truly a catch, she wouldn't he leave him for me. Upon my arrival, I discovered that Shiryu was indeed impressive, standing at 6'3". He possessed a refined demeanor and a visage rivaling that of male celebrities in the entertainment industry. However, his gaze constantly lingered on Chungzhen. Dressed in a delicate white dress, Chungzhen blushed as she announced, I just received my acceptance letter from H University for graduate studies. Though it's somewhat far from home, and my parents are still hesitating. Those around us marveled. In a circle of affluent heirs, few valued education, while many feigned sophistication. Receiving an acceptance from a prestigious institution was indeed commendable. I thought to myself, why has the sister become so affected? I recalled that this university was also among the institutions listed on Shiryu's resume. Indeed, Shiryu's eyes sparkled as he bypassed me and approached Chungzhen. It's perfectly all right. 2. Am an alumnus of this institution. Should you have any inquiries, do not hesitate to ask me. At that moment, Chung-on Hui unexpectedly appeared, warmly seizing my hand. Sway, this is Shiryu. Why not introduce yourselves? What did I tell you back then? To study diligently. But now it seems you can hardly interject, Shiryu remarked, finally turning his gaze towards me. Subtly, he furrowed his brow. 06. The attendees of this soiree were all invited by the Chung family, each one a sharp-witted individual. In an instant, they began to murmur amongst themselves, isn't that the daughter of the Ming family, the one devoid of any academic prowess? Surely, she must have graduated from some obscure institution. Standing there all alone, how awkward. Indeed, born of the same mother, yet the disparity is striking. It appears to be an issue of education. What good is wealth when one's mind is as empty as a sack? The Ming family's fortune will inevitably be squandered by her. Chung Jun timidly interjected, Sister, what brings you here? Had I known, I would have refrained from mentioning this topic. Her voice gradually dwindled. Even if I spoke of it, you wouldn't comprehend. Shiryu's regard for me shifted from initial admiration for my appearance to a hint of disdain. There are many beauties, and just as many airheads. And individuals like him are most irked by the latter. I suddenly grasped Chung-on Hui's intentions, wishing for me to witness firsthand just how exceptional her cherished daughter is. Perhaps she merely handed me Shiryu's some without informing him that I was the intended recipient, wanting me to observe his evident fondness for Chung-jun. Meanwhile, I, spoiled by my father, am perceived as a mindless villain in the outside world. She is quite adept at employing this comparative tactic. I glanced at the affluent individuals who had been gossiping, pointing them out. The Wang family, the Qian family, the Su family. Weren't you the ones disparaging me? I smiled sweetly at them. Your husband has been lured away by a mistress, and your child remains at home, leeching off you, now resembling a plump pig. Yet you still find time to gossip about others? And you, my dear sister, why not mention that your father donated an entire building to the school before you were admitted? With that statement, the room fell silent. Chung Jun's face flushed even deeper. I applied on my own merit. Sure, you comfort her. The Ming family's young lady may be a tad too overbearing. How could you know of such matters? Besides, do you possess any evidence? Why be so hurtful? I shrugged, as if they were meeting me for the first time. A little inquiry in the capital would reveal my true nature. And as a minor antagonist who frequently dances before the protagonist, I am privy to certain insider information. Lies do not wound. The truth is the sharper blade. My father also wished to donate several buildings on my behalf, but I declined, refusing to seek validation through gilded means. Chung Jun was genuinely on the verge of tears, her face crimson. Chung-on Hui spent quite some time smoothing things over before the soiree resumed, sternly advising me to speak less. In the latter half of the gathering, while I was retrieving a small cake, I encountered Shiryu once more. From across the dessert table, I playfully kicked him with my high-heeled shoe. What was intended to be a flirtatious gesture transformed into an outlet for my frustration. Instantly, Shiryu winced in pain. 07. Upon being driven home, I remained somewhat disgruntled and, as soon as I entered, kicked off my high-heeled shoes. My villainous father was on the sofa, attending to company matters, and turned to look at me. What's the matter? Who has upset my precious daughter? Shall I seek retribution on your behalf? I plopped down beside him. What good man? His thought processes are painfully shallow. In old age, he'll be selling health products. Men are all alike, after watching so many documentaries on scoundrels. How can you still harbor illusions about them? I pouted, crossing my legs while munching on fruits offered by the servant. He may look presentable, but he is hardly a good person. Was he not always unworthy? What, is he more handsome in real life than in photos? I nodded in agreement. Oh, it's just a handsome man. You like him, keep him around. You don't, then send him away. Why bother getting angry with a crooked tree? Sometimes I feel my villainous father possesses an unexpectedly progressive mindset. His words are akin to maintaining a male concubine in ancient times or a male model in modernity. I was so astonished, I nearly choked on the fruit I was eating. Who truly keeps a male model at home? After pondering for a moment, I resolved that this indignation could not go unaddressed. No way, how could anyone dislike me? He must come to like me. Once he does, I shall ruthlessly cast him aside, making him pay for today's events. My father fell silent for a moment. A forced relationship bears no sweetness. You must learn to exercise restraint. He sank into contemplation, exuding an air of gloom. I suddenly realized that my father had once similarly seized what he desired. This tangled relationship remains unresolved. I wonder if given the chance, he would act the same way again. I patted my father's shoulder. Dad, it's all right. There are already many who dislike us in this world. I wouldn't mind one more. Even if I were to bind him, all he could do is despise me. What more could he do? In a lawful society, could he really harm me? What's the big deal about men? It's hard to catch a three-legged frog, but a two-legged man should be easy enough. You are correct, but sway, I do not wish for you to be hurt. Enjoyment is one thing, but do not invest your heart. I nodded earnestly in agreement. 08. My father's secretary was highly efficient, swiftly placing Shiryu's itinerary on my desk. I scrutinized it, and lo and behold, aside from his regular work schedule, he dined with Qingjun every 2 or 3 days. Surely, they are beyond mere friends, yet not quite lovers. I pointed to a project on the itinerary that Shiryu was tackling. Is this related to our Ming family? The secretary nodded, and I smiled knowingly. Inform my father that I shall take over this project. I will attend today's meeting, and no one is permitted to intrude. My father has never denied me any request. After all, he often says, such a vast enterprise, could you truly squander it? The secretary, having grown accustomed to my whims, handed me a pile of project documents, thoughtfully highlighting the key points. I casually passed him a sales contact. Why not gift your wife a Hermes bag? Choose whichever you like. The secretary accepted it with both hands, visibly pleased, and departed. Dressed in stockings. I selected a professional outfit and discreetly adjusted it to reveal a hint of my alluring back. From the front, it appeared to be a standard business attire, but only by turning around could one discern its subtle sensuality. Before exiting the car, I applied a strategically chosen lip color and strolled into the offices of the Ming Group. Shiryu was already there, visibly surprised to see me. Why is it Miss Ming? He frowned adorably. I am here to discuss a project, not to entertain Miss Ming. I placed the documents on the table. How do you know I'm not here to discuss the project? I had thoroughly reviewed the project files when the secretary provided them to me. My father was often too busy to attend to me in my youth, so I spent many hours in his office, absorbing how he managed his work. This minor project was nothing. I could certainly engage Shiryu, the young heir, in conversation. Shiryu grew increasingly alarmed as he perused the documents. Did you truly devise all of this planning, Miss Ming? I nodded. Can we now discuss this project? Of course. The small cakes were plentiful, but thorny roses were not easily found. My insights were sharp, my mind agile, and the overall progress was advancing swiftly. Moreover, and most importantly, my father's employees heed my every word. Whenever I propose an idea, they diligently craft the most comprehensive implementation plan. In return for their service, I generously offer a lucrative project bonus that often surpasses their annual income, making me a favored partner for all. Shiryu's eyes sparkled with intrigue. He had visited the Ming residence several times, yet had seen little tangible progress. We conversed from dawn until dusk. I propped my chin on my hand, turning slightly as I murmured, I'm so hungry, I haven't eaten at all. From Shiryu's perspective, he could catch a glimpse of spring's beauty. He paused for a moment. Then, with utmost gentlemanly grace, inquired, Miss Ming, would you honor me with your company for dinner tonight? Originally, he was meant to dine with Qingjun, having made prior arrangements, yet I had decisively intercepted him. Additionally, I had noticed Qingjun urging him multiple times, inquiring about his whereabouts. Initially, he had deflected her questions, but eventually, he ceased to respond entirely. I took a seat at the table, teasingly glancing at Shiryu, playfully tugging at his tie. All right, I'll join you for this meal. Shiryu's composure began to falter. A flower nurtured in a garden cannot rival the allure of a wild bloom. He too was drawn in by the allure of profit and roses. Due to the nature of this project, my interactions with Shiryu in public spaces grew increasingly frequent. I possessed resources, wealth, and charisma, monopolizing his time. Qingjun found herself at a loss for how to reach him. As Shiryu's dates with me multiplied, my interest in him waned. My elusive demeanor only served to heighten his desire, transforming him into a devoted admirer. Sway, what are your plans today? Can I come to the Ming residence to see you? I just acquired a car. Shall we go for a drive? I turned my head and forwarded these messages to Cheng Anhui. She wished to demonstrate that this so-called good man in the capital had no regard for me, and I felt compelled to retaliate. One night, Cheng Anhui arrived at the Ming estate, her demeanor brimming with indignation as she sought to confront me. The servants, well aware of her formidable nature, promptly relayed her presence and allowed her entry. As I observed Cheng Anhui stride in, She resembled a lion on the verge of ignition. With mounting frustration, she pointed at me and exclaimed, "How dare you? Why must you steal what Jinjin cherishes? Do you even deserve it?" My father, utterly perplexed, interjected, "Isn't this the marriage partner you arranged for Sui Sui? Shouldn't you feel pleased that their relationship is flourishing?" Chung Anhui fell momentarily silent. I struggled to suppress my smile. What irony! Was this not akin to lifting a stone only to drop it on one's own foot? If I were unworthy, why had she sought to arrange a favorable match for me? Had they become engaged or married? Perhaps, Miss Chung, you ought to inquire with Shiryu about his thoughts? Chung Anhui would never do that. Instead, she would vent her fury on me and my father or turn to Qingfeng for assistance. Over the years, she had become somewhat domineering, coddled by Qingfeng, yet remained an indulgent wife at heart. It was evident she did not genuinely wish to bring me into the Chung family. After all, a man was worth such a grand display of reproach.
I blinkt indesenslige her.
Chung Anhui's anger surged, but as she glanced around, she found nothing to hurl. Thankfully, I had forewarned the butler to remove fragile items from the living room, or she might have resorted to throwing things. Even if she did throw something, my father would never seek compensation from her. What a predicament. How could I have birthed such a wretched child? I should have suffocated you the moment you were born. I warn you, do not compete with Zhenzhen over anything, or I shall not show you mercy. You see, to her, Cheng Zhan was a treasure, while I was merely an abomination. Were she truly influential, she might even wish to end my life. However, my father, the formidable antagonist, bellowed, "Enough. Cheng Anhui, what madness is this? Sui Sui is my daughter. What relevance do you have to her that permits you to dictate terms?" Cheng Anhui trembled as she pointed at me. "Yet she is also the child I carried for 10 months. I have a claim to her out of maternal obligation." I let out a scoff, entirely unimpressed. "Yet you abandoned me. Have you ever heard of a parent who forsakes their child only to later demand to reclaim their role? Moreover, these past years, my reputation in the capital has been tarnished, largely due to your incessant comparisons between me and Chengzhen. If you truly despise me, you ought to have ended my life at birth. Yet, here I stand, having survived against all odds, much to your chagrin." Cheng Anhui seemed taken aback. She had not anticipated my retort. "How can you speak to me this way? I am your mother." "Your words are hollow," I replied, finding her tiresome. This woman, bold in her actions, yet cowardly in her accountability, had long since lost relevance. So many years have passed, none of this truly matters anymore. Since you insinuated that I would have been better off dead, shall we not formalize our severance of ties? Cease using the title of mother to lecture me. Have you ever cared for me in even a single moment? I signaled the butler, who promptly presented the severance agreement. I had long wished for Cheng Anhui to sign this document. She often exploited my name to tarnish my father's reputation while simultaneously portraying herself and Cheng Zhen as paragons of virtue. My father had endured great hardship raising me, yet my mother was conspicuously absent. I was utterly fed up. Cheng Anhui crossed her arms, raising an eyebrow. "On what grounds do you demand a signature?" She had reaped too many benefits as my so-called villainous daughter and was reluctant to comply. I smiled, having found a way to maneuver her. "If you sign, I shall guarantee that I will sever all ties with Shiryu. I know Qingzhen is infatuated with him, but with a mere beckon, he would follow me like a loyal dog. Surely, you do not wish for your precious daughter's husband to forever harbor feelings for me, do you?" I waved my phone, displaying Shiryu's invitation for a spa getaway. "Shiryu, is that all right? Pitiful puppy. Min Sui Sui, if you want my signature, your father must transfer the development rights for the area north of the city to me. Otherwise, why would I sign this document?" I was taken aback. I had assumed she cared deeply about Qingzhen. To my surprise, her interest was rather superficial. "That is out of the question." "Very well." Both my father and I exclaimed simultaneously, and he acquiesced. Cheng Anhui pondered for a moment before signing the severance agreement. "I had originally intended to assist you, but since you insist on playing the role of the villain's daughter, do not blame me for my lack of courtesy." I nodded eagerly. "Please do not hold back. I have no desire to be saved by you, dear heroine." Cheng Anhui is the heroine, or so she claims. She frequently asserts that she has traversed into a story where she plays the protagonist, that my father is the villain and I, as his daughter, am destined to be vanquished by the righteous leads. If I were wise, I would align myself with her, potentially securing a sliver of hope for survival. However, I find her insufferable. I cannot bear to share a roof with her for a single day. When I was a child, crying and yearning for my My villainous father brought me to meet Cheng Anhui, who regarded me with nothing but disdain. On one occasion, she begrudgingly allowed me to join her and Cheng Zhen. Cheng Zhen tore my clothes, and Cheng Anhui chastised me, saying, "Look at you, sulking like your father. Do not bully Zhen Zhen, or I will toss you into the trash." You see, she despises both me and my father, yet our familial bond forces us to remain intertwined. Now, at last, we are severing our ties. After Cheng Anhui departed, the vast estate, save for the servants, was left with only my father and me, reminiscent of countless previous nights. Ultimately, we have arrived at this juncture. My father's gaze towards me is imbued with complexity, yet I find myself exhaling in relief, liberated from the grasp of that woman. Do you not harbor even the slightest affection for that lad, sure you? After a moment of contemplation, I mused. His exterior is passable. But why would I desire a man of such dubious character? It stands to reason. If he is already tainted, let him frolic with Cheng Zhen. I offer my father a piece of fruit. Have some. Don't let that madwoman spoil your mood this late at night. My father remained somewhat reticent. I'm sorry?
Huh?
You still lack a mother. Had that incident not occurred, you would not have had to grow up solely under my care. Dad, what are you saying? I am genuinely happy to be your child. As for my mother, I have never known her. She is a villain. She has never shown me kindness. And yet she has the audacity to speak with such righteousness. My father fell silent for a moment, before recounting the events of that year. I had been inebriated. Perhaps someone had drugged me, or perhaps it was merely the effects of my intoxication, but by the time the doctor arrived, no trace could be found. Thus, the antagonist father entered the hotel suite, seeking respite. Unbeknownst to him, there lay an unclothed woman within, Cheng Anhui. Yet at that moment his consciousness was clouded. The next morning, he awoke amidst the astonished gasps of others. Cheng Anhui immediately began to berate him. I am to be wed today.
Who are you?
Why have you come to ruin me? Cheng Feng also rushed forward to confront him. However, Cheng Anhui ultimately did not marry her original betrothed, and this incident disrupted the wedding altogether. Her reputation tarnished, she bore a child, and only then was she allowed to be with the impoverished male protagonist, Cheng Feng. Thus, their narrative of redemption led to marriage. The more I listened, the more I felt something was amiss. Dad, did you never consider that they orchestrated this scheme? The antagonist father paused. I did ponder that, but Cheng Anhui presented herself as a victim, neglecting her responsibilities after you were born. Moreover, as a wealthy heiress, her reputation was ruined. Even if it were a setup, what could she possibly gain? Yet, I remained unconvinced. Had that incident not transpired, Cheng Anhui would have married a wealthy young scion long ago. Where would her current glory be? Though her reputation is sullied, she possesses something tangible to leverage, such as my antagonist father. However, time has passed, and since there was no pursuit of accountability then, it has become an immutable fact now. You will always be my father. You treat me well, while they are all villains. Such is the perspective of a child. Were it not for my antagonist father, I would not have had the freedom to grow as I have. Upon my birth, Cheng Anhui abandoned me, swaddled, at the gates of the Ming family estate, showing no concern for what might happen if they failed to discover me in time. Were it not for my father's oversight, I might very well be scavenging for food in a dumpster now. I followed the contents of the statement to the letter, blocking Shiryu. Regardless of his attempts to reach out, I ceased all communication with him. I even splurged on vacations using my father's card, traversing the globe, far from the buzzing flies. Cheng Zhen and Shiryu became engaged, even sending me an invitation. I found it amusing. Did Cheng Anhui not fear that Shiryu might still harbor feelings for me at the engagement banquet, thus becoming a scandal for the affluent? When I arrived at the engagement banquet, Cheng Zhen was already entwined with Shiryu, mingling with the guests. I wore a black dress, reminiscent of a petite swan, tailored specifically for me. My father, fearing I might not shine brightly enough, adorned me with a necklace worth over 100 million, freshly acquired from an auction house, drawing Shiryu's gaze frequently in my direction. During the intermission of the engagement banquet, Shiryu seized the opportunity to pull me aside. Ming Sui Sui, you have such a cruel heart. I quickly stepped back, maintaining my distance. Hey, don't you dare dump all your troubles on me. Have I promised you anything? Shiryu furrowed his brow, lost in thought. I continued. Indeed, I have promised you nothing. It was a mutual arrangement. I have made no commitments to you. And without a formal acknowledgement, who granted you the right to assume a position? Shiryu fell silent, resembling a forlorn puppy, his eyes downcast, appearing quite pitiful. So, everything you said before was a lie? What deceit? You have successfully gained a beautiful partner. Shiryu murmured, I never wanted to be engaged to her. But if I don't, will you ever show up?
Huh.
I failed to catch his subsequent words, yet the clamor outside grew increasingly loud, and remaining here would surely attract the attention of other guests. I hastily made my exit. Let us go. If we don't, tomorrow as headlines will be about us. Shiryu seemed poised to say something further, but I had already turned to leave. As I stepped outside, Shiryu followed closely behind, the other guests behaving as if all were normal. Yet, an inexplicable sensation enveloped me. Chengzhan appeared exceedingly anxious and restless, her demeanor betraying her unease. Shiryu had been absent for such a lengthy spell, and she showed no urgency to seek him out. How peculiar. Today's gathering included many local wealthy merchants, as well as members of the Chung and Shi families. The Shi family had also brought along their most distinguished young leader, Shi Jinshu. Shi Jinshu, Shiryu's second uncle, had matured, acquired wealth, and shed the naivety of youth. Upon his arrival, Chung Anhui enthusiastically ushered Chengzhan forward. What an honor! What an honor! Chengzhan reciprocated with a smile. Shi Jinshu approached Shiryu. Congratulations. Shiryu nodded, yet his expression bore no semblance of joy. Chung Anhui raised her glass. We are all family here. This wine was specially airlifted from a vineyard abroad for this occasion. Do taste it. Its flavor is unlike that of most wines on the market. It was crafted to commemorate the birth of our Zhenzhen, a sign of good fortune. Upon her words, Shiryu drank, as did Shi Jinshu. She served each person a glass, including me, and with keen interest, she urged, drink up, everyone else has, it won't poison you. Observing everyone else partake, I feigned swallowing. At this moment, Chung Anhui's smile emerged. From now on, we are all one family. Our Zhenzhen is marrying into the Shi family, and I am at ease. While she spoke, her gaze remained fixed on Shi Jinshu, who exchanged pleasantries in return. The two prospective in-laws appeared to converse amiably, leaving Shiryu sidelined. With 2 hours remaining until the engagement ceremony, Chung Anhui declared, everyone can retire to the hotel lounge for a while. Our Zhenzhen needs to change outfits. With this, the guests proceeded to the hotel lounge. Each attendant guided the guests to different rest areas. However, the further I walked, the more I sensed something was amiss. How could Chung Anhui assign me a suite on the top floor when she despised me so? In a flash, I recalled the story my father had told me. Narrowing my eyes, I realized this was merely the same old trick being employed again. The further I advanced, the more unsteady I became. Why was my head spinning so? The servers remained oblivious to my disorientation, supporting me. Miss Ming, just a moment. We're almost there. Once the server assisted me in swiping my card, and I entered the room, I discovered Shiryu sprawled on the large bed, his complexion flushed, clad only in his undergarments. I sat at the edge of the bed, gazing at the slumbering Shiryu, and suddenly the pieces fell into place. I wondered if, at some point, the Chung family had decided they no longer desired Shiryu as their son-in-law. Their initial target was never Shiryu. He, too, was destined to shoulder the burden of this scandal. Should anyone discover that I am lying together with Shiryu, Chengzhen would undoubtedly become the greatest victim, prompting the Shi family to provide her with an explanation. Perhaps her ambition to marry Shi Jinshu was indeed a feasible aspiration? My reputation has already become irreparably tarnished, rendered inconsequential in the eyes of Chung Anhui. While Shi Jinshu remains beyond Chung Anhui's machinations, Shiryu is not. He and I had previously shared a relationship shrouded in ambiguity. With just a nudge, public opinion could easily condemn both Shiryu and me for our indiscretions. At that juncture, even my villainous father would find it difficult to vindicate my innocence. However, they were unaware that I had never ingested anything offered to me by Chung Anhui. I had not taken a single sip of that drug-laced wine. I exerted every ounce of my strength to drag the dazed Shiryu into the bathtub, panting and somewhat brusquely depositing him within. I was grateful to my villainous father for his insistence on my consuming meat, eggs, and milk daily. Without that, I would have lacked the strength to maneuver him. I turned the faucet to its maximum capacity, directing the shower head toward Shiryu. As the water splashed onto his face, he groggily opened his eyes and mumbled, "What are you doing? Can a person get any sleep?" Infuriated, I felt the urge to kick him. Sleep? You'll be caught in the act if you continue to slumber. Caught in my ire, I doused him further with the shower, demanding, "Are you awake now? If so, get dressed and leave. This is my lounge." Shiryu retained his dazed demeanor, and as it became evident he would not awaken, I reluctantly left him there and quietly exited the penthouse suite. In the elevator, I encountered Jinshu. Initially filled with frustration, I had no desire to greet him. Yet upon reflection, why should I refrain? Why should Chung Anhue's incessant schemes go unpunished? Approaching him, I articulated with precision. Your nephew is currently in the luxurious suite 1101 on the top floor and snared in a plot against him. I doused him with water, but he remains unresponsive. Jinshu did not inquire further, merely responding with a curt, "Thank you." His aura starkly contrasted with Shiryu's, emanating an air of authority as he conversed with me. The elevator doors opened, and he stepped out. I watched his retreating figure, pondering whether those who are taciturn often project an air of superiority. He seemed a figure of decisive action, leaving me baffled as to why Chung Anhue would set her sights on him, risking a significant miscalculation. Emerging from the elevator, I found a suitable hiding place, determined to witness Chung Anhue's grand performance firsthand. Within 10 minutes, she arrived, flanked by a throng intent on confronting infidelity. Before they even reached their destination, Chung Anhue began her act. My daughter Ming Sui, who typically disregards my guidance, is absent during this crucial occasion? A server just informed me she was with Shiryu. Could it be true? She feigned distress, drawing the attention of the gathered elite who were eager to witness the spectacle. She portrayed herself as a damsel on the verge of fainting, while the onlookers regarded her as a seductress, provocatively dressed for what should have been a solemn engagement. I couldn't help but notice her furtive glances at Shiryu, perhaps dismayed at the prospect of not marrying into the Shir family. Yet, was it truly appropriate for her to entice another fiancé? Such behavior reflects poorly on her upbringing. The infamous Ming family reputation speaks volumes about the character of its offspring. As they arrived at Suite 1101 and knocked repeatedly, silence greeted them from within. This, however, did not deter the inquisitive socialites. Chung Anhue soon enlisted a server to unlock the suite. Upon entry, they were met with the sight of a flushed Shiryu sprawled on the bed, covered in blankets. Gasps erupted from the crowd. My heavens, could it truly be? Is that Ming Sui? Where is that woman? Has she hidden away? They proceeded into the suite, conducting a thorough search of the wardrobe and restroom, desperately seeking evidence to implicate me. Yet I was not present. When they opened the bathroom door, only Jinshu emerged, his expression dark and foreboding as he surveyed the gathering of women. What is the meaning of this? He demanded. The ladies stood frozen, realizing their intent had backfired. They had come to expose scandal, not to invite misfortune upon the Shir family. Several quickly retreated, stammering apologies. Soon, only Chung Anhue remained, her face a tumult of emotions. Several of the women fled in haste, leaving me stifling laughter in my hiding place. The elevator doors opened once more, this time revealing my father. Dad, what brings you here? My villainous father scrutinized me closely before exhaling in relief, confirming I was unharmed. I don't know what has been going on today. My eyelids have been twitching. Then Cheng Zhen sent me a message warning of danger, so I rushed over. I was taken aback. Cheng Zhen? She has always been an inconsequential figure, lingering in Chung Anhue's shadow. When did she become so benevolent? Seeing that you're unscathed puts my mind at ease. Is today not the day of the engagement? Why the chaos? I offered an awkward chuckle. Perhaps they intended to catch someone in the act, but I wasn't inside. My father radiated an icy demeanor. They would dare to play such tricks on you? It was clear my father was genuinely enraged. I nodded, recounting the entire saga to him.
Fine.
Aren't I clever, Dad? Yet his mood showed no signs of improvement. His chill intensified. Chung Anhue, if you have designs on my daughter, do not expect me to be accommodating. Chung Feng hurriedly approached, shielding Chung Anhue. What do you intend to do? At that moment, my father resembled a true villain. Do you think you can deceive me? On this day, you shall not bully Sui. Shir Jinshu stood beside my father, asserting, You dare to conspire against the Shir family? You possess remarkable audacity. Our family will not assist in your schemes against Chung. Chung Anhue's expression shifted to one of trepidation. Previously, she had manipulated me to gain leverage over my father, siphoning resources from the Ming family. Now, with the severance of ties, my father was genuinely furious, and the Shir family stood opposed to her. My father instructed his assistant before beginning a countdown. Within 1 minute, Chung Corporation will plummet. Within an hour, it will face a trading halt. Furthermore, all actions taken today will trend on social media within a day. Chung Anhue, I previously afforded you leniency due to Sui, But do not assume I am oblivious to your tactics. I do not wish for her mother to appear so disgraceful before her. Now that you have plotted against Sui Sui, I see you are courting disaster. Chung Anhui trembled. Sui Sui, no matter the circumstances, I am still your mother. Once, I too had yearned for maternal affection. Yet now, it appears merely a fleeting mirage, a childhood folly. I sought my mother, but she was absent. If anyone can be considered a mother, it has been my father, who has played both parental roles over the years. It was my father who fed me, changed my diapers, helped with my homework, and nurtured me throughout my upbringing. It is perplexing how a cold-hearted villain transformed into a devoted caretaker for a child. However, my father has never looked down upon me. He has never entrusted me to a nanny, and then neglected me. Even during my childhood, when I craved companionship, he would bring me to his office. As I gazed at Chung Anhui, I suddenly perceived her as a divine blessing. We bore no resemblance, as I inherited my father's features, with no trace of her to be found. You often claim to be the protagonist, yet in my narrative, you are merely the most venomous antagonist. My father was also a remarkable figure in his time, and despite the years you have sullied his reputation, he has cared for me steadfastly, and the Ming group remains formidable. You are furious, aren't you, Chung Anhui? You are the leading lady, yet you cannot triumph over the villain? Chung Anhui gritted her teeth, still wanting to voice her thoughts. At that moment, Cheng Zhen ran to her side, tears streaming down her face. Mom, please stop. Chung Anhui's demeanor softened slightly. Cheng Zhen cried even harder. I don't like Shi Jinxiu either. Why must it be this way? Mom, I am content with our current life. Can't we just return home together? Cheng Zhen then pulled out her phone to show Chung Anhui that everything the villainous father had stated had come to fruition. Chung Anhui whispered in her ear, You are still young and naive. How could that sure you compare to Shi Jinxiu? By marrying Shi Jinxiu, you become the young mistress of the Shi family, ensuring a smooth life ahead. Your mother nearly fell into a trap back then. How could I allow you to tread the same path? But if only they could all just vanish together, that would be for the best. Cheng Zhen was stunned, her mouth agape, but unable to utter a word. She stared blankly at me, and then at the people beside her. I scoffed. Chung Anhui, is this not truly what you desire? My disappearance would indeed be the best outcome. Chung Anhui laughed heartily. Of course, your disappearance would be ideal. You not only obstruct my way, but also hinder my daughter's path. I should have aborted you when I had the chance, but despite all my efforts, you thrived within me. Sometimes I wonder what kind of curse you are. Her expression was malicious and deranged, as if I were truly her nemesis. My father covered my ears. Do not listen. Do not let such words taint your ears. If you are unhappy, feel free to strike her. After all, our ties are severed. As long as you don't kill her, I will ensure your safety. I replied, very well. Chung Feng, standing nearby, attempted to pull me away, but my father's bodyguards swiftly restrained them both. They delivered a couple of solid punches to Chung Anhui. It was truly somewhat satisfying. At that moment, Shiryu emerged from the suite, and upon witnessing me assaulting Chung Anhui, he was taken aback. Sui Sui? Shi Jinxiu patted his shoulder. See? She is not a woman you can provoke. Shiryu, still unconvinced, retorted. So what? If I cannot defeat her, can I not withstand her blows? She surely cannot kill me. Shi Jinxiu sighed, realizing his nephew was beyond redemption. As my father and I departed from the hotel, evening had settled in, casting shadows over the surroundings. I harbored no regrets for my actions. What of Chung Anhui being the protagonist? My father has endured her as a thorn in his side for years, yet he continues to thrive. If I could grow into a formidable villain myself, I could escape the narrative Chung Anhui has crafted. After all, I am a child nurtured by a villain. How could I allow the protagonist to force me into a rented house? Chung Anhui must be deceiving me. I declared boldly, Dad, let us go home. My father nodded in agreement. Indeed. Tomorrow, I shall return to the company and strive to bring down the Shi family. Yes. And I shall drink 2 bottles of milk today. Absolutely. Shiryu called from behind. Wait for me, Sui Sui. My father quickly ushered me into the car and pressed the accelerator firmly. We do not need that filthy man. Outside, the wind howled, yet my heart brimmed with satisfaction. Perhaps in this life, I shall remain without a mother. However, my father has grown into a towering tree, compensating for that maternal absence. As for whether I am a villain, in this tale, it is of no consequence.
Dad, why did you choose to raise me?
What nonsense are you speaking? What are you thinking? Instead of indulging in such thoughts, you should drink 2 more bottles of milk, understand? Chung On-hui is a character from a novel, merely a malicious supporting role within its plot. The male lead is Ming-su. She is discontent. Why must she be relegated to a mere supporting character? Hopelessly in love with the male lead, she plotted to ensnare Ming-su and went to great lengths to bear him a child. Yet he remained indifferent, offering her no more than a passing acknowledgement, save for matters concerning Ming Sui. Chung On-hui could not accept this. She transferred her resentment towards Ming-su onto Ming Sui, harboring disdain for the child who caused her so much suffering during pregnancy. Subsequently, she sought a loyal companion in Chung Feng and bore another child. However, as time passed, she realized her cherished Chung Zhen was merely a delicate flower, while Ming Sui was strikingly beautiful and utterly dismissive of her as a mother. Chung On-hui had feigned her role for so long that she genuinely believed herself to be the protagonist. She yearned for the finest life, intent on trampling the Ming family beneath her feet, wishing for Ming-su and Ming Sui to eternally regret their opposition. However, she ultimately failed, suffering a devastating defeat. The Chung family fell into bankruptcy, and its branches scattered to other cities. She still sought to fight, hoping to appeal to other powerful figures, attempting to overturn her fate based on the narrative she remembered. Yet, fortune no longer favored her, and her struggles only led to deeper despair. Even Chung Feng grew angry with her and departed. Chung On-hui, have you had enough of this chaos? You are left with nothing. Must you still seek the favor of other men? In the end, only Chung Zhen remained by her side. Mom, please stop. Can't we just live well together from now on? Leave Ming Sui alone. You cannot outmatch her. Chung On-hui smiled bitterly, questioning the fairness of it all. If only she had treated her better in the past, perhaps this outcome could have been avoided. The story concludes here. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and give a thumbs up in support. Until we meet again in the next tale.